My name is Sheila. I'll be moderating this session today. I am from iHub. We are quite honored to have Dan talk to us today. He's been gracious enough to agree to talk to us about his journey, the wins he considered he got, the mistakes he thinks he made, and basically just his entrepreneurial journey, and where they've gotten JamboPay. So we have our partners for this event, MAVC. They were gracious enough to support this because they believe it's important that we share the successes of entrepreneurs in the ecosystem, and we can learn from that. So I would like to welcome Chris, who will just briefly tell us about MAVC and our partnership before I welcome Dan.
Thank you, Sheila. Good evening, everyone. Really lovely to see everyone here. My name is Chris. I'm from Making All Voices Count, which is MAVC. And MAVC is a program that seeks to leverage on the opportunities of technological innovations and development to fight corruption, to ensure that we have citizens getting the rights that they deserve. So it's quite an honor to be here today to learn, because one of MAVC's key objectives is to learn. And so we've partnered with the iHub to learn from the ecosystem. So it's good to see a full room of lots of different people from different sectors that we can learn from. And of course from entrepreneurs like Danson, who have really pioneered and done a lot for this country to ensure that we make all voices count in our country. So I hope, like you all, that I'll learn as well. And just great to have Danson here. Thank you, Sheila.
So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Danson to take over the session. So he'll give a brief presentation. Then after that, he'll take questions from the audience.
Asante sana. Good evening. You allow me, I'm not a very good teacher, so I'm just here to share like my journey, what we do, how we came about, how and where we are headed. I really look forward to real interaction. I would like to answer as many questions as possible. But to start with, I would like to take you through a very brief 3.5 minutes or 4 minutes of what JamboPay is, and then a bit of where we started and how we are faring on. So JamboPay is an innovative electronic payment service provider. We are we're now 8 years old. We have offices of subsidiaries in, sorry for that, I think it skipped quite fast. So we are 8 years old. We have subsidiaries in Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya, and now working on, we have activities in Rwanda and Malawi, and future also working a bit on Senegal. We basically are forwarded on building a payment ecosystem around merchants. Merchants are businesses that we help in automating revenue collection and disbursements. So we have built an ecosystem around merchants, drawn from various sectors, like from retail, health, entertainment, education. We also have lots of government and technologies that we call channels that we power or enable these enterprises or businesses to receive or disburse funds. And our channels include USSD, web, or mobile web. We have an agency network of banks and non-banks. There are about 10,000 points, IVR and others. And we have built our payment ecosystem around two kinds of wallets. That's corporate wallets and personal wallets. Corporate wallets are targeted at businesses. And then value adds around loyalty. We have credit, ability to lend out, and voucher system. So we basically sit between telcos, banks, consumers, merchants, and enterprise solutions providers. So guys like SAP have a partnership with us. You deploy SAP and you can ask them to give you a module that has that, and among others. And that's our next ecosystem. I'll come back to this much later towards the end of this. But our main traction, I think, has been driven by this. We white label. A lot of times you will not even notice JamboPay is around in a lot of transactions you are doing, because we white label our products look like the merchants or the businesses that you operate. I'll give examples of how many people here are working in an organization and you get to pay for NHIF. I'm sure a lot of you, if you are employed somewhere, your employer probably does NHIF, and you'll never get to know that there is any JamboPay in that transaction, because end of the month you will take that transaction and you generate an e-slip and you will take to National Bank. But really behind there, National Bank is an agent of JamboPay. And a lot of other cases like we have Mbao pension scheme. I think you're all familiar with the city here. That was a bit unfortunate that guys got to know that there's a JamboPay there. It was originally designed to be just EGGPay. But because of the nature and the size and magnitude of the project, a lot of guys dug and said now EGGPay has JamboPay and so forth. But a lot of our installations out there, they are completely white labeled. And any of you who has maybe a product you'd like, we can just come in and we white label that for you. And we're also very strong on compliance. That the central bank has other regulators around this. And we have a very wide payment ecosystem. So in terms of offers, we have e-commerce, ticketing, disbursements, donations, PayMe, and bill payment services, and government payment processing. We are the largest government payment processor in the region. So for government entities that have automated their collections or their payments, we are the largest. Most probably we are doing that. Compliance, we are regulated by central bank as a PSP, that's payment service provider, and a large e-money issuer, and a communication authority as a CSP, that's content service provider, and application service provider, amongst others internationally and locally. We work with the KPMG and PKF because we handle billions of shillings every month, hundreds of millions every day by now. So these funds flow through trustee system, and these guys are our trustees and auditors respectively. KPMG also audits our systems. They do our systems audit, pen tests and stuff like that. So serving over 3,000 clients, some large ones like Uganda Revenue Authority. We have cities like Nairobi, places like Trans Nzoia, water companies like Kisumu, Nairobi. We have insurance companies. We have medias, lots of guys that, products like Mbao pension scheme. That Mbao pension scheme we are very proud of, because it's it's a product that is targeted at the informal sector, and we have seen real transformation out of just deployment of our technology out there. And we have partnership with quite a number of banks, 22 banks, likes of Visa, Telcos, and networks like Huduma Centers, Postal Corporation of Kenya, among others. This is a case study of Nairobi, a bit old case study. And Nairobi, we were tasked with the mandate of automating their revenue collection and payments. And the magnitude or the extent of that contract was from, they have a hospital, Pumwani, where some of us got, that's where you surfaced from wherever to this world. And from there, all the way to the other side of the city. You know what is there? Cemetery, where you've done everything else in the city, where you go and rest, and everything in between there. So it's their land rates, their single business permits, the parking. A lot of guys here remember me when they are clamped, and a lot of other things. So when we picked the city in 2013, their revenue then was 7 billion. This year, the financial year that ended a few weeks ago, 30th of June, they hit 13 billion. So they have almost doubled their revenue collection over that duration. and the automation level is around 51%. So they still have lots of things, and automation of a city like that takes a lot of time because you have to manage a lot of change. You may complete, you're able to complete the systems and tests and everything, but you have to do a lot of change management, including trainings and stuff like that. Another very good case study is the National Health Insurance Fund that we automate. In 2016, we processed 25 billion for them. That includes the memberships, the premiums, the penalties, and we handle these on mobile, banks, and agency network. So if you would like to become an NHIF agent, I've seen some colleagues of mine here that you can see, and you are an NHIF collection agent. So I think to just move fast, this is our heartbeat. We continuously innovate around technology. That's actually my central role at JamboPay now, like driving innovation and the culture maintenance of that, and product innovation, partnerships. We value partnerships regardless. Even if there is not much you can read out of it, but we can just partner. And this evening I came, and there's a very nice restaurant down there. John is the entrepreneur behind that. I just learned, founder of Java. And we just sat there and we have sealed the deal there. We have agreed that we are going to collaborate around meal vouchers. So we love partnerships, and we build those partnerships as we go by. And now, JamboPay has, over time, we have built an ecosystem that has, we have everything in-house. We have our call center 24/7. We have our data centers that we have built over time, and lots of other things that we have built capacities internally for reasons that I'll explain. So 10,000 plus agents. These are independent guys out there. You can walk to, top up, or do a transaction for any of our merchants, and you transact. And that's JamboPay numbers. I think I'll come back to that. Team of about. So now this, what I've shown you here, and I was just saying that it came about because of two things. One was that 8 years ago, we just decided that we wanted to create a brand. And not just a brand, we wanted to do e-commerce, and we could not do because then you could not process payments online. And we took time and decided that we would go back and, and create a payment gateway. And it was tough because we wanted to do it right. And regulations were tough, and we just realized we needed to focus on that instead of, so we didn't have funds. And so I went and walked into a cyber cafe somewhere to view Park Towers and list one computer. That was $45 or thereabout, 4,500 a month. And that was our home for 6 months. Of course, now we have grown, we have moved to multiple countries, and it has been like sometimes fun. Actually, the fun has been in the challenge. And we have, fast forward now, moved to where we are. We are a profitable organization, and we are quite comfortable. We have teams. So I'm sure you, I can see in your mind you're asking now, how do you jump from a cyber cafe into now the JamboPay as is now? And I want to ask that question. Maybe you would like, someone would like to ask that. I think the focus has been around that. That's my favorite brand, the JamboPay. And from the onset, we focused on creation of a brand, and it was no two ways around that. And to date, we really push that brand inexpensively. When you don't have funds, you have to really focus on innovative ways of building a brand. And one of what we have done, and even today, if you pay for parking in the city, you'll always find end of that SMS as powered by JamboPay. Anywhere you do a JamboPay transaction, in fact, tunaweza kosana na merchants. We have fallen out with some clients just because they have a problem displaying powered by JamboPay. We can walk out of a deal. We can negotiate big time. We lost, when we were negotiating, for example, for the city, we lost a 0.5% of a transaction just to have that powered by JamboPay around that. So I think that has been a lot of what we have done. We have branded again and again and again. Even you look around this, I'm here, and I could not stand here without that being there and that one being there and probably something else happening. So branding has been major. And I think there are a lot of guys here who are focusing or would like to build brands or are in startup stages. I think if you have a brand, you need to focus on that because tomorrow you will eat out of that. Today we probably do not, we have a lot of market, we have a lot of customers who are just coming because there is a brand that is associated with electronic payments. That it now rings that if I want to automate my city, if I want to automate my company, guys will remember, even government, no government tender around happens without those guys notifying us that we would like you to come and present to us or do something like that because they associate that brand with electronic payments and we have built that over time. Number two has been from the onset, we focused on creating processes internally. The biggest mistake that I would also like to just highlight at this phase, year one, or the first few years, the records were not as good as they should. But among the very, very first investment that we did, and the reason I went to a cyber cafe and nowhere else, because I was keen, I was interested in that computer and the internet connectivity, nothing else, and the desk probably. But we also did spend, I think I spent maybe 3,000 on a QuickBooks. That must have been a cracked edition of a QuickBooks. Some guy came and installed and that's where our books were. And records are important because the thermometer of your company. Like your business thermometer is basically your records. You'd rather not have even money in your account, but you have a record that just says this is what you made, or this is how you spent, or this is what you spent, and just something there about. And then the other bit of what we have continuously done is the people. Earlier, I think today I attended a VAS session at the Safaricom VAS session that was at Kempinski early morning, and I sat next to someone, and she told me, you know, one of my colleagues is working at JamboPay, and you guys, you really pay well. Like, I'm impressed that you know, she mentioned someone that I know. Of course, we're not doing like the very best, but we have always tried to be not really the pay. It's really in the appreciation. We appreciate. And if there's anything I would do from then until now, and I see some colleagues here and you look at their faces, we like to keep them happy. These guys, they have lunch, basically. Except ule jamaa sijui kwa nini hanoni. But most of them, really, we have a problem of like weight and stuff like that. Because I would like, in fact, I look forward to one of the biggest dreams I would want to see is from then, and to date it stands as guys who are quite happy, they are empowered, they are living in their, they have decent lives. I have a friend of mine there called Robert Ochieng, now he's head of Uganda, and he always told me he wants, he loves Range Rovers. And I'm not done until Robert Ochieng can drive a Range Rover. Not just driving Range Rover, you know, Range Rover is a lifestyle. That lifestyle, he can live that lifestyle. So lots of focus, even when you don't have so much, but you take time and think about stuff. And I think some few colleagues are here, so I'm not able to say quite a lot around that, but they could also answer some bits of it. Even CFO Dominic is here. We've been now working on, I would like to give sizable part of that company to those guys who are loyal, and we are working on an SO. So staff has been major, like good guys. We try to get great guys. We try to improve a lot on our, you know, our staff. I feel very bad whenever we lose an employee, like someone moving. That's the worst. Usually I don't like that. And then we also have a board. I created a board quite early. And a lot of my friends were asking me, are you crazy? You just out of a cyber cafe. In fact, I think we were still in a cyber, and I had approached 5 guys, and I had asked them to join my board. Out of the 5, 4 accepted. And they accepted really not, I could not pay those guys. They accepted because I was able to sell the vision of the company quite clearly. So, and those guys supported me. From the chair, my chairman is Dutch, he's called Hans. I approached those guys through, you know, a lot of, you know, you have, when you're an entrepreneur, you're able to reach somewhere. And communication. So ability to, you know, to get good teams and keep them, you keep communicating. You're aware, probably some of you, that lots of politicians sometimes, before anything like an attack by politics or some politicians because of some contracts we handle, I've told my teams, and I quite literally do not very much care a lot about other things more than the staff. So I communicate quite early, and I tell them these are the facts and the following are not the facts. And so when it's coming in, and of course we know these things. So I think communication internally and externally. If you Google the first interview on Business Daily about JamboPay, I think we were just 6 months, and I shared a lot about our vision, like what we wanted to do. I'm not afraid, even this has a bit of strategy, and I'm here telling you about our strategy. There's something about when you share and communicate that you consolidate, and you also, you don't get guys don't get by surprise. You prepare and you market internally and externally. I think the other major aspect of what really has driven us, I'm also a very prayerful guy. I pray every morning. I actually have a big problem. I don't understand how anyone would just one day, in the morning you wake up and you shower, you dress, you comb, you go to work, and you just have not prayed. I have never understood how, because if you can do that, you really must be very courageous. And it's like you can walk naked and you just feel nothing. So for me, I pray. And when I pray, I'm done, that day is done, because I declare victory. Like I have prayed and said, God, this day I want to be a champion, end of it. And the rest of it is just, I work. Like I'm just doing what I should do. You cannot really pray and just relax and do nothing about it. But that is something else that I will do. I have not prayed for the last 9 years. I think to post there, and I know there are lots of areas that I left lots of gaps, and I'm sure you noted them, and so I would like to take your questions.
Hello, Danson. Let me go first. My name is Kirui. Yeah, and I really fuss about the user experience part, and this is particularly problematic in the financial space. I think a while ago we were doing a project that required us to integrate with like a payment gateway, and the biggest challenge that we had is most of our payment gateways are not designed, especially for mobile. So how are you guys at JamboPay looking at that? It's like across all the payment gateways in our ecosystem at this point in time, it's a hot mess, like it's just a nightmare. Then the second question is more to do with your approach to scaling to other countries. How do you go about that?
Thank you. I think first on, I agree with you. There is a lot of challenges around our UI, and I attribute that to, you see now we have a major driver of payments, that's telco, maybe one telco, and so when you have that huge gap between the market leader and the rest, they really will not put in a lot of effort in a lot of things like UI. But what we are doing, because we developed our APIs, our own wallet, we just tried to, our strategy has really been develop APIs and share these with developers, so that the journey, for us, we just come in at the authentication. If you would like to change the process of how the steps and so forth, as long as the integrity of the stored value, that's the money that is sitting at the wallet, is taken care of. Our approach, by giving APIs, we would expect, and we have seen this now. We have guys who have deployed these on apps, USSDs. We have people who have deployed these on point of sale and hardwares, and even embedded the wallets on cards and stuff like that. So our approach has really been to allow guys who have who understand their various market segments, because application of UI means different things for different market segments. And if you look at government, for example, it's complex, because you cannot just deploy a product the way you want it. You have to follow certain government policies. We have finance acts You have, for example, I give example of the city, parking. If you park in Upper Hill, it's 200 shillings. In fact, if you park in town, it's 300 shillings. If you have a big vehicle, let's say a pickup, it's not 300 shillings, it's higher. And the Finance Act says that you cannot charge a small vehicle in Upper Hill, same as a large vehicle in town and so forth. So you have to really provide a journey that someone picks what is this vehicle and where is the vehicle going to be parked and lots of this. So you're not able to provide a very easy checkout process. But I think to just answer you, we have deployed, we are working now towards sharing APIs. We'd like to just be a payment processor and allow a lot of developers to come and place APIs above or use APIs to develop that. I think on scaling, we develop, we test lots of our products. We test in our markets. A lot of what we do usually is there's an approach towards because we have aspects of regulation in what we do, and so that sometimes limits us. And what we have done is we have partnered with some banks like GT Bank, UBA, that are Pan-African, because a bank basically has a regulation that allows them to provide the services we do. And so by partnering with these banks, creating Pan-African or regional partnerships, we're able to scale in those other countries. We also have a lot of partnerships. You have entities like Sodexo. Sodexo is a mobile gift and mail voucher system. That's a complete company, completely white labeled, but running on JamboPay. So part of our scaling strategy is to just give the capabilities to other entities to handle the logistics and the business involved in that, and we handle the processing. And also the sharing APIs, and that is part of scaling.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for taking the opportunity, for taking your time to come here and present to us. And I'd also like to thank iHub for the opportunity they have presented. My question is, when you are starting, you had a brand, but now with limited funds, how are you able to make your brand visible? Secondly, how are you able to break into the market, because your product was new at the time, so I knew it met some resistance. How are you able to break to the market?
Well, I think first, as entrepreneurs, let's be honest. Every time you are starting a business, you are told you need to have a business plan. I was also in the same school of being told by guys, and I did. And Excels will always show you some very good numbers. But from experience, I think you need it, but for other people, for yourself, you really don't need that thing. It's not neither here nor there. If I look at the business plan we made then, especially on the numbers bit, every day you are going to find surprises outside that Excel. So I think it's, we were just clear on some things. One, we wanted to become the best payment service provider then in Africa. And the next bit of it, we are very keen on creating a brand that is a household brand in payments. That was like something that to date I still want to ensure. I would like to get into a room like this, and I'm sure each of these guys have gotten some sense out of, not even sense, I have added value into their lives through JamboPay. I think the most important bit of business plan should be clarity of where you are and the journey and where you want to go. If you have just those three very clear, the rest of that is for the bankers and guys like that, and a lot of times they will not be around when you need them. Maybe now it's changed, but then they were not. And because I think part of your question was on how we manage to erode resistance. I think when you repeat again and again and again, I'm sorry I'll mention some guys. There is one insurance company. I offered those guys, the first time we started, I went there and camped there and I told them I can automate how you collect your premiums. In fact, it was PCK and an insurance company. I did, they listened, I showed them, and I told them even I will not charge you. And indeed, our first clients, we never charged them the implementation and a lot of things. We were just doing for profile. And so I think one of them is where you can, because a lot of resistance is someone who does not want to spend when they are not sure. So you can offer to your church or your community, your uncle's business and stuff like that. Let them sample your product so that you have a portfolio. No one wants to get on, like you are the first to get in. Even a matatu, you don't want to be the first guy. You want to find like, what we are in AV, then you can be comfortable. Otherwise, you're not okay. So get some few, that's how, kuna wengine wanapiga seti. There are some conductors who will sit and in a matatu and they wait so that when they are there, guys will come in. They understand that. So I think the first bit is you need to look at, is give free samples. And then to create trust, it's important that you understand regulation and you try to be as compliant as possible. The first letter we got, in fact, the first letter I wrote was from the cyber, was to the central bank. Those guys, I told them, yeah, we want to set up an online payment gateway and we would like you to guide us on regulation and stuff like that and give us approvals. I wrote that letter from a cyber cafe. Luckily, those guys never visited, but they responded 2 weeks later. And they came and, they responded and said, we appreciate innovation, please come and do some presentations and stuff like that. And that was the beginning of credibility for us, because we pursued that. When you are even in that journey, you can walk to a bank and tell them, by the way, we are even going through regulation at the central bank. Even central bank is aware of what we are doing. And so I think there is a lot of regulation and compliance. We focus a lot on compliance. Even our partners from very early were, even now we work with KPMG because that's the best we could find in like audits and stuff like that. And I think the other bit of it is you have to repeat again and again and again. The reason you see guys brand like that, instead of just writing one JamboPay there, the reason politicians, like one guy called Ogeto, he's a friend of mine, America posters all over Kilimani. He's an MCA, but he understands that he has to repeat, he's filling a whole wall with his same poster, not different. It's because you have to repeat again and again and again. That's persuasion. You persuade guys like that. So for that insurance company, I offered them. They did not say yes, they did not say no. I did an email every week. In fact, the first time I did some work for a beauty Vera College, I just offered and they accepted. I still sent, like I did my press release, and I shared with them that these guys have accepted to use JamboPay service and stuff like that. And so I bombarded them until 2 years later. And anytime we would sign, I would tell them, by the way, so-and-so has accepted. And that 2 years later they came, I had offered them free. 2 years later we charged those guys 3 million shillings to implement. Because then I had like value and now they were like, there is no way out, like you completely clouded their world, like with JamboPay, and they are seeing like, in fact, we signed another insurance company and they just said, okay, come. So I think there's a lot of, you have to not give up. And a lot of times as an entrepreneur, what I have learned, those things that take time to come by, those are your hardwood. You know, hardwood is better than softwood. Hardwood will take a cool 100 years to mature. So if you see you have a client, you have really tried and they are not coming by, or they are not like accepting your offer, just keep at it. Ultimately, you will, they will yield and they are the best of the clients that you would get. You see, like the city here, they are not like our best clients, but they are good clients. They are a client. And it took 3 years of presentations, demos, even county governments came and stuff like that. And when we advertised and we tendered, somehow was part of the process. We understood them better than anyone else because we had been there countless times. We even had offered to automate city market free. So I hope I have answered you. Yep. Good evening.
My name is Gitahi. Thank you very much for your presentation. So you've already answered the one question I had, which was about how you got your initial customers. My other question was about investment for startups. There seems to be, it's become almost fashionable that everybody that starts a startup thinks they should raise capital from somewhere. And I'm curious to hear what your experience was and what your advice is to up-and-coming startups.
Well, I think JamboPay has not raised funds to date. Maybe now we are thinking about it. And we have all the reasons to do that. And a lot of the time that I spent, like wasted time, was those times like I was chasing those guys who will come and tell you they have funds and they want to. Like a lot of those guys will try to show you how your thing is not going to work and why you should not be valued like that and so forth. And I know this is quite sensitive, but the fact of the matter is, and I am not sure if Ford, Coca-Cola, and all these big giants of yesteryears were funded, of many years ago were funded. You need funding, but you need funding that is aligned to your goals and strategy. You don't need funding because you are starting a business. It should be because your business needs the funds to scale or to move to the next stage. But it should be like your business can stand on its legs without the funds. That's my view, honest view. So we were not incubated. Of course, we appreciate, we didn't have iHub. I wish then iHub was there. And we didn't go through iHubs. I see Muraya there. He knows we started in our incubation was innovative in a cyber cafe. We were quite frugal in our approach to spending. Like even to date, I query a lot of expenditures because I'm used to that, and a lot of our decisions are refined because we came out of that. We were never given funds to just fly around. I remember we would, one day I considered, do you know how far Dar es Salaam is by road? You guys, unless you are doing a road trip, that place is far. And I was going there one day because of some tender or some, actually not tender, it was an NGO that wanted some voucher system many years ago. But I could not fly because we didn't have, we had funds, but we had better use of those funds, so I had to take road. I think that mentality of you refine your costing and what have you is what you gain out of if you cover ground without those funds that you raise out there. But I see the sense in funding when you want to scale quite fast. But there's always a risk of two risks. One to the entrepreneur, because today we are the reason we covered so much ground is because we are agile. Our decision making is not so much of, we can make decisions quite fast. We can respond to challenges and competition quite fast. I'm not sure I would have that if we had accepted or we had worked that process of funding. Now we are looking at that because we are looking at going beyond Africa. I'm comfortable that our 5-year strategic plan, we can cover that without investment. Like getting into around 18 African countries, we can do that. But the speed, the pace of doing that is what probably we could accelerate with funding and getting out of African, because we think Africa is still a small market. I have seen that after traveling around. So to answer you, I believe if you are an entrepreneur, unless you are the Capital Markets Authority, you should focus on building a business, but not selling your business like you start a business and you're just imagining like guys, investments and VC firms coming and giving you money to like live a comfortable life. That should not be the case. It should be that you are building a business that can be attractive to guys, or that will run and then you have guys who are aligned to your strategy and come and invest in. So to date, we have not received any investment.
Another question? A lady now? Okay, man. Okay.
Hi, my name is Nzisa. My question is a follow-up to what you've just answered. Would you consider, or do you have a vision of actually selling off JamboPay to, someone else?
This is my favorite brand. Of course, entrepreneurs have attachments to these things. My colleagues, they are always saying about attachment. And yes, a business is, I would, but it has to be for, I'm interested more of the next 300 business of JamboPay. Years of JamboPay, 300 years. So if I can get to a point that I'm sure that this is a decision that pushes this business to be relevant for the next 100 years plus, that would be someone that we can, and those are some of the things I would look at. Today, I'm not so worried about like basic needs, like where to live. Like my life basically is okay, and so I'm more interested in the future for JamboPay. And so, and the business is you cannot. It's not a family business. Also, it's a business that is supposed to be for the world. So yes, I would.
Yeah, thanks. I think two questions. First is you mentioned a social impact project that you've worked on that has really excited you. Just enlighten us a little bit more on that. Then secondly is how has it been working with different government representatives within Kenya and, you know, around the African region?
Well, I think on social impact, it's for me, it is cause big, and it's the reason that I work so hard, because and there are too many facets. This one is to the customers out there. You see, Mbao pension scheme, it's one of those. Mbao pension scheme means now, by the way, those transactions start at 3, all the way to 10. These are guys who are contributing 20 cents of USD towards their pension, easily. If you had told that guy to contribute 600 shillings, at a go, they are not able to. But now you're able to break that down and make it a very small transaction that they are able to. And that is financial inclusion. It gives someone stability and so forth. And I look at another project we have done, for example, there is a free maternity. It's called Inua Mama. It's called, what is the name of that project? We have a project we have done for the National Health Insurance. That is a free maternity scheme. So the government is giving free maternity to the expectant mothers out there. And they just need to dial a code *263#. And they can subscribe from wherever. So I look at the scale of that today, probably 1,000 women got to subscribe, and then they can use that electronic voucher at a hospital somewhere. That's really impact of our technology. Another day was World Environment Day. And we just thought, you know, the city, before we brought our platform, used to pay, and then you get that ticket, paper ticket. By the way, those things are not there. I have one. I'm sure I'll sell it in future. They'll disappear completely. And we had done 4.5 million transactions, parking transactions, and we had just sent an SMS notification. So we replaced that paper with the simple SMS, 164 characters maximum. And so we did a computation, and there was close to 1,000 trees rescued out of that. That's a forest. So someone else somewhere would plant a forest, but we, through our technology, we saved, like, those are papers that probably would, demand is, you know, the trees are cut because there's a demand for that. If you replace all the papers, that is just parking. We have not looked at so many other aspects, because we have rates, we have licenses, we have a lot of other areas that is automated. So there are countless, I think electronic payments, actually ICT, a lot of it, other than gaming, and gaming has aspects of social impact. There's a lot of this. And so for us every day, sometimes because we have a call center, we receive calls that are coming from somewhere very far interior, and it's someone probably who has an issue with that token, that voucher. And I just imagine all these millions of transactions we transact. There's no transaction that has no life at the end of it. There's a human being somewhere. Even those guys who are betting, they are looking forward to something. So it's like our life is, our business has just impact on all those transactions, if you look at it critically.
There was a question on regulation. I think his second question.
Sorry, what was the question? Please repeat. Oh, the government. I think you had said how we interact with government. Actually, if you want to, and this has been said again and again, I think it's not wise for an entrepreneur to set up a business that is just selling to government. Like you are just looking for tenders, or good government tenders, by the way. Government will not buy, even if it's how good, a lot of it, as long as there is money, you have to tender. It's not wise. Your enterprise should not be built just for government. And out of our 3,000 merchants, I think government, of course, there is bits of government, but a lot of it is private sector. And so, to your question on government, our interaction with government has been, of course, it's a tough one. It's a lot to do with patience. It's a lot to do with a precision of the compliance. If you are not compliant, for example, even if you have how good a product and you don't have a tax compliance certificate, you will not do business with the government. So whenever they put those requirements there, the basic of that, of you getting onto that business is you have to be compliant. So the first, question you should ask yourself about dealing with government, are you compliant? And compliance takes time. And you have to set standards, you have to do a lot of, for example, you have to file your returns, you have to do a lot of things well to be compliant. And a lot of times you have, to be honest, you have lost a lot of government projects. Like now, out of 47 counties, probably we have 4 or 5 contracts. Where are the rest? And we actually have like the largest of them, including Nairobi. So it would naturally have been easier to. Nairobi, and it's good to point out, I look at it and I imagine the reason we won Nairobi was because of World Bank involvement in that. There was lots of auditors, PwC in the process, and ICTA and stuff like that. And over years, we have lost a lot of other bids because sometimes you are not able to. Government is, someone could change a requirement to lock you out, and a lot of this. But I have learned you need to take your time. You need to be compliant. You need to also just expect net gain. You don't have to get everything from government. And I think if you are good at what you do, naturally there are those few government entities and instances that things will just fall in place and they work quite well. And we are okay with that piece. But we've learned that you have to have a well-balanced portfolio. Yeah. Between Kenya and I think Kenya is quite complex. I know, for example, that judiciary took to get engagement from URA versus what we go through for simple county, like Trans Nzoia, or another one somewhere I don't name. It's complicated here. It takes time. And then in Kenya, there's a lot of politics. You can be the best guy, you do your work very well, but someone, as long as he's not, he'll just look at, but the politics behind there could be who, how comes this guy is applying that politician with that solution? And a lot of questions out of this, guys will raise a lot of questions, and they can fabricate stories, and Kenya has a very vibrant social media, so things will run quite fast. And I have learned to just focus on the work. I think a lot of times things just, sense will come over time. So Kenya is, the government has good policies towards, for example, digital payments and automation, but it takes time. Uganda is trying to catch up, and Rwanda is the best. They have quite fast processes. They are aligned. They do not beat around the bush. If they don't like your solution, they'll tell you. If they like it, they'll accept. Tanzania has it's a difficult market, especially for Kenyan farms. It's a market, it's a challenge to do with, I think, perception. Perception, they are good guys there, and they also want the best, but there's a lot of misunderstanding around Kenyans versus them, and stuff like that. So I think it's, but even Kenya is, you just need to keep at it, because we are doing business with the government of Kenya. And I appreciate a lot that the government here has good policies, especially for the youth. A lot of times you have to be compliant, but that 30%, I'm sure there are quite a number of young companies, young guys who have taken advantage of that, and they are supplying government.
Hey, I'm over here. My name is Chris Jansen. I'm from Toronto, Canada. Moving to Kenya in a few months to start up a new company in the education space. And So my question for you is, what do you think your biggest mistake has been along the way, and what have you learned from that experience?
I think the biggest mistake was initially when we started the business, I was so clear about where we want to go as JamboPay. But along the way when things were tough, I thought, like lots of young entrepreneurs, like I really need these investments. And so we listened. And that trip, that road that we took, because I took time, I met some guys, we sort of thought they are good guys. We ended up in court. Like they created another company called JamboPay Express. You all got those news the other day. We started another company called JamboPay Express and told us, Kwaheri. Kwaheri means bye-bye. And so they started like a competing company that has a name that was confusing guys. And we had to go to court just the other day. And it has taken 3 years in court until last month, and the ruling, the judgment that those guys they were just registered last week. The company was dissolved by the registrar of company last week. But you can imagine, as a young entrepreneur, you going through that kind of, and you are new to courts. The worst environment is the courts. Even if you are like suing someone, even if you try to smile, that background somehow, like, it's a sad environment. I don't like that place. I wish one day our legal was here. I always tell her, just go if I don't need to. But eventually, so I think that was the worst mistake of just shifting my focus from the ball for a moment. It was like a few weeks because the damage was so much. Even for me, that was a weighty issue until recently, last week, when the court made that ruling. It was always like, you can imagine you have built a brand, but there are guys who are confusing guys. You have a very good portfolio, but they call it JamboPay Express. You are JamboPay and they are JamboPay Express. Some guys would get confused. I know they were awarded a contract somewhere, and they used our profile. Can you imagine? And of course, they have more resources, so you are intimidated psychologically. That was the biggest mistake I have made. I think the rest of them are record keeping in the early days. I wish, and that's why I advise all of you guys, just get an Excel. Simple. This is the money I'm making, this is what I'm spending, and just record everything. Even if it's lunch you had with a friend and a customer and you spend some money, just record that. And eventually it will make sense. Even if you don't have that money, just record it.
Hi, I'm Jonathan. I'm with KPMG by the way.
Sorry?
I'm Jonathan.
Yes, Jonathan.
I'm with KPMG by the way. So I'm proud to hear you present name. So my question is, I seeing a lot of guys here, we are young, okay? So, and this song has been sung a lot in school and out there that we need to be job creators and job entrepreneurs and all. So what drove you down this path vis-a-vis working for a corporation somewhere, and what are the skill sets that are most needed in JamboPay?
Well, I think a lot of things. I look at it this morning because I thought about this session. And it's a cocktail of things. One, I remembered, I lost my dad while I was in high school. But I remembered one instance that my dad looked at me straight in my eyes and told me, you are brilliant. And I think this you need to carry, and to your kids or young guys out there, just do that. So that, you know, they believe in their dads, young ones, and adults, basically. I think you need to do that. Look at young ones, kids, and tell them you are brilliant. So that sparked something. So I have always believed excellence. Like, I'm excellent, I'm brilliant. You know, brilliant. Brilliant is like brighter than this one. So that's one. And then I remember when I was young, my parents bought me rabbits. I think they brought me 2. A doe, what do you call the other one? A doe is a female one. And so they bred. And those things, if you feed them, they breed. Faster than we could eat them. And so I had to sell I sold the first rabbit for 28 shillings when I was in class 6 or 7. And so that bit of and I think it's something you can do for young ones also. Get them responsibilities. So I was responsible. I used to feel it when, sometimes these safarians would just find their way up and they feed on those young ones, especially when they have given birth, and it would hurt me. And so I was responsible. Even at school, I would just imagine I have another responsibility, and there's nothing I love than responsibilities. I love responsibilities. And if I recall, it goes back to those rabbits. And then that I got 28 shillings, and then over time, it got lots of money. Then, there was a time I had 3,000 shillings, and I'm in primary school, and I was just imagining, what do I do with this money? And so that just encounter with money, sort of. And then, when I was in high school, I lost my dad. I was in Form 3, going to Form 4. And that thing struck me like, I don't know what. Because now I imagined, you had lots of expectation. I think dads a lot of times signify, you have a lot of, you look up to them, you think things cannot go wrong because they are around, and now that was not there. And so I just knew, now I'm on my own. That thing rang and I thought so. And so survival for me began then. As much as there were lots of family, friends, and relatives around, but I knew end of it all, things are quite different. And so from then, I've handled a lot of things with the survival bit of it. To date, I can, there is a survival instinct. If we are on a project, it's there's some other sense that you connect to that and you have to survive. And I think at campus, I studied telecommunication and information technology at KU. And I shifted from environmental, you can change course, to a tougher telecommunication. And the reason for doing that was challenge. I just wanted to challenge myself. So it's been a challenge. Even now, I think a lot of what we do is you want to challenge, I want to challenge, I want to be challenged, and stuff like that. You grow that way. And ultimately, I love causing things to be that were not there. In fact, now, my role, what I'm very keen on, and to get back to the question on how to scale, I'm very keen on creating that in the entire of my staff. Get those guys to get the entrepreneurial gear and entrepreneurial mind, that survival bit of it, we can take someone from Kenya and take them to Namibia with our solution, and they can survive that terrain. So I think it's lots to do with lots of all those things that have happened. And entrepreneurs are just like that. You really cannot tell. It's not, maybe lots of us is lots of things that led to that. And yeah.
My name is Joseph, and thank you for making time for us. I have two questions for you. The first question is, from your presentation, I've learned that an idea can become someone's destiny and transform other people's lives. So apart from ensuring that your staffs are having a conducive environment to work in and also trying to make them the people they want to be, what have you done, or how do you handle other people, young entrepreneurs who have good ideas that can also transform other people in the next 5 years and become a bigger company?
That's a good question.
Number two is, how did you overcome fear? Fear of rejection. You want to talk to somebody and you don't know how to go about it.
Thank you. You see that? Those are 10,000 businesses that I have given. Some were created for just JamboPay. Others were doing something and I'm empowering them. And they are becoming part of the drivers. Today there is an agent somewhere who drove a transaction to. Even you could become a JamboPay agent and you earn out of that and you are running a business. So we have that program, especially young guys with businesses and you have a premise. We will come in and give you our agency that you guys can come there, pay their power, pay their net, pay their government, pay their exams, and stuff like that. So I think that model was, besides helping us to remain sustainable and have entrepreneurs driving our business, other entrepreneurs, it also has a lot to do with creation of opportunities for a lot of other guys who are young guys and so forth. That's one. I think the other bit of it was on fear. You see, for me, I learned that if you want to progress, the moment you sense fear, that is the direction you go. By the way, my coming here was just confronting that fear for me. I like to do presentation where I'm selling, like some guys will pay me, not so like very comfortable when there are so many eyes like you guys and you like are looking up to me to tell you stuff. So close your eyes. Where you lose direction, where you're not sure of, or you are getting lost, just close your eyes, sense that fear, and move that direction. So for me, fear drives me. Like, I literally go towards fear, charge at those fears, and you keep progressing. Because fear is what really curtails you from being what you should be. A lot of guys, like my friends ask me now, you midnight, you having a meeting, or you are working sometimes, because I work sometimes late, and you are not afraid to move from Nakuru to Nairobi. There's a day I went from Nairobi to Nakuru for a midnight meeting. I was very interested in some project somewhere, and I had to go. And a lot of guys just fear darkness because it's dark. Why would you? The sun is elsewhere, and if you have done some science, it's not really like major. So I think the bottom line, charge at your fears.
Oh, it's on. I'm Thaya. So I have two questions. One is on PCI DSS compliance. Do you like make your system the way it can avoid PCI DSS, or if it does touch on those things, how do you comply? Next is, what do you think about Bitcoin?
Well, PCI is, there are various levels, and there are various levels of compliance that you go through. You create a system. Of course, there are certain aspects of system development and how you deploy your solution that you have to comply to so that you don't have those vulnerabilities. So for us, that's the process that we began quite early. Scanning through certified vendors and stuff like that. And to date, we are still going through that process of higher levels of certification. And the other standards that we also in payments have to comply to. Bitcoins. I don't know why you guys had to laugh at Bitcoins. Why? The question how you asked it. I think any new innovation, any new change should be good change. And for me, Bitcoin is it's change. At JamboPay, we provide e-value. That means we have a wallet that guys use, and we want to promote that as much as possible. And we also appreciate the Bitcoin technology. I think for us of major interest now is the underlying technology, the blockchain. More than even the coins, for reasons of the regulations, and we are in Kenya, and we are regulated by the central bank, we are not able to, as closely as we would want to interact with the Bitcoins, we are not able to do that at this moment because we are regulated. And you look, that applies to anybody else who is regulated by the national payment systems at central bank, because you need to have clarity on a lot of things, and the regulator is right that there is need for clarity on a lot of things and visibility, and especially where you are interacting with the public funds. And so I think that journey is for the promoters of Bitcoin to cover, and the moment we have acceptance at government level, then we can mainstream that onto our platforms. But as is now, the blockchain is of great interest to us, and we are looking at how we incorporate that into our payment ecosystem.
Okay. So because we have so many questions, we'll take 3 questions, and then he'll answer those, then we'll take the next 3. Okay?
Good evening. My name is Lida. Thank you for the presentation. So having having um, having had experience and exposure to, let's say, Africa, as you answer the challenges of payment through online or technology, what are some of other challenges that you may have seen that you would wish maybe 5 years from now would have been addressed through technology?
My question is very simple. How did you design your business model for scale in the beginning?
Okay, my question is, did you first build your platform before you started marketing it, or did you do some research knowing if your platform would work? How did you go about that?
Thank you. I think, Laila, I would start with yours. I think the basic needs, human needs, the health, education, shelter. I think if we start at that, those are opportunities in Africa for digital payments and automation generally. And agriculture is major. We are, in fact, as a business, I think we are at probably 4% of what we should have done. We are not like really happy. I feel we have not done much. We should have done more, and we ought to work harder to catch up with where we should be. And a reason is because there are so many other sectors like agriculture, education, healthcare, that housing and sanitation that's not automated to an extent that you can you can one day comfortably stand and say someone in the remotest part of Africa can access, for example, healthcare. If we have not done that, I think that's an opportunity that needs to be covered. So it's a lot of areas, it's our lives. I think we have really been joking with this, just playing on the surface around games, wallpapers, stuff that are really not making sense to guys in Subukia or Lugulu village and stuff like that. We ought to, and if we want to scale and grow quite fast, I think we should be at that scale, that level, where we have impact on lives, that someone will feel they are included in the governance, government, services, generally social services. I think to your question, maybe you can just repeat your question. Or what was the question?
About the business model for scaling.
Yeah, I think the beginning, we just created a vision of we want to be a Pan-African business. And we didn't have resources. So we had to refine our business model so that with very little resources, remember we had thought about vouchers, the paper vouchers. And we just said, no, that can't work because we don't have resources to print or deploy such kind of a solution. And eventually we ended up with APIs. Today we have agents. We have an agent called, we have an agent in Germany. I've not been there. Okay, I've just passed through there. And those guys are JamboPay agent. That means I can just deploy JamboPay the whole world from here because we have APIs and a good business model. They just need to become an agent, get our APIs, load, we certify them, they load the money in our trust accounts, we give them e-value, and then we expose our services to them wherever they are, and they start transacting. So it's, I think the whole thing was in the vision. If you want to grow big, you have to, generally you have to work out your model from technical point of view and a business model so that it can reach that level. And I think the other question...
The other question was, did you market first or did you build the product first?
Yeah, I think market. Why should you keep dead stock? Why should not dead stock? Why should you have products that you are not sure will sell or not? A lot of times, and a lot of entrepreneurs do this, they'll come and tell you how that thing you need, it can work, and it can even, you can change the colors. It's not even there. So I think it's good to have a prototype, but do not derail your plans to go to market because the product is not ready. Deployment like the city of Nairobi, that's close to $1 million. 70 million was spent to deploy the eGGP service here. Now, how would you go and develop something worth 70 million so that you come and sell to a county? Of course, you are in e-payments, and you understand there. So the whole thing is you need to have the heart so that you can build on these other things. But you don't have to develop that product and solution so that it's ready so that you can go and sell. Sell fast. In fact, the best model is where you sell. They actually pay you a bit of it. Now we are doing a lot of that, lot of deployment. They pay for that deployment. Then you can run faster and you can scale without worries. I think there was a question from him.
Evening, Mr. Danson.
Yes, Caleb.
Yeah, so my question is, when you started your business, was it a side hustle or were you employed somewhere else? And if it was not a side hustle, how were you able to survive? Thank you.
Actually, I have never had a side hustle. And side hustles are just a joke. I think you have to be, yeah, really, it's serious. You are not going to sustain it. That means you are not sure of what you are doing. If you are sure of what you are doing, you should be, if you have confidence in your ideas and yourself, because that's what is entrepreneurship. You should have the guts to jump and stick and drive your vehicle. So it was not a side hustle, and it was tough. You can imagine the reason for getting into a cyber cafe was because I could only raise 4,500. And by the way, I was, after university, I was in an organization for 7 months, 7 or 8 months. I meant to be in that organization for 1 year. But that bag of entrepreneurship could not allow me to the 3 months were too long for me to remain there. And I did not try to do the side hustle while I'm working there. Today, those gentlemen is Mr. Bekir. Mr. Bekir is my best friend. He's a good friend because, I was there I was there for the 7 months I was there, I was 100%, and I was a very resourceful employee. And I had told them I'm here to learn corporate governance. I want to understand just corporate culture. I was sure I would do, and I would go into entrepreneurship, but I had some bits of doubts around structures and lots of things around organizational culture and stuff like that. And so I was there to learn that. And I'm not sure I learned all of it, but most of it, actually I did copy even the tiles in our office. If you look at the place I worked, those were the kind of tiles that were. I did try to learn and copy a lot of things. So I did not, when I thought I should move, I wrote to them, to my employer, and I told them I want to start business, and so I don't want to continue working here. And initially they were not quite comfortable, but today he's very proud of what I did. And I think they even became our initial customers. He supported me. Whenever I had problems, I would call Mr. Bekir and ask Bekir, how does this happen? And he would help me. So how I survived, it was tough, by the way. And I don't know how to explain how tough it was. I see Moriah there. That's a Devent guy. He's the MD for Devent, another startup that I know we are having a relationship with. But if Moriah came to our office, I think if you remember, we used we'd make little money and share for transport, like fare to get a matatu. We'd get paid. Remember the first customer, I even trained that guy, IT, from basics Windows all the way to coding. And old Mzee, I call him chairman, because we needed to raise some funds to stay afloat. And we did a lot of that. But we never, ever, even that is not anywhere in our profile. Even then, I never went about saying how we can make great websites and how we can do SMS thing. I stuck like we are a payment service provider, even when we are doing this. So it's like specialization, but we supported a lot of that. And the day we got our first revenues coming in through that, no matter how little that was, we dropped a lot of these things, other things. So I trained, our first payment was 28,000 shillings. And that guy, I have a lot of respect for chairman, Mr. Odundo, because he was our first customer. I trained him IT from basic Windows all the way to VB coding, an old guy. And so that's how we survived. And it was very tough, really. We used to There are nights, I had some guys, you stay at night in the office, a lot of, and wait until the fare is like rock bottom, and then you go home. And it was tough, and I look back and I think that was the fun. Even today, we have to look for challenges like those, because tomorrow, I'm sure it will be brighter, and we have to go through the tough times to really see where the ground covered. Now, another day I was telling our CFO here that, you know how it's amazing. We were in India, and that day we were in India, we had some teams in Rwanda, 3 others in what part of Kenya, many teams like in many places. And I was imagining when we were small, we could not do that. We could not be in 2 places. It had to be one person, one place because of resources. Now, like today, there could be so many people who are doing so many things in so many places, and that's growth. And when you grow, it's like growth is like stairs. You know, stairs, you have to step completely on your foot before you rise to the next. I think as entrepreneurs, the moment you learn, do it well, like step without like caution, just step on that step so that you can rise to the next one. And that's what we are doing today. Like the resources we have, we allow that we can grow. So that we can grow, we are like really stepping on the ground we are on, like comfortably and completely with a lot of strength so that we can move to the next level. But the whole process of doing that has been a lot of communication. I communicated. When we made money, like we were paid like 100,000 somewhere for doing some SMS application. It was clear. It was put there. Everyone would know this is rent, like 30,000. And then this other one, we were maybe 7 guys, we'd share. Then I know some guys who we had to contribute because the house is locked, because salaries were late. You know, I tell guys, you know, I can see some colleagues here, and they have no idea. They came later. They have no idea that now we have no delayed salaries, I think, for the longest time. But there were days salaries would come like once in a blue moon, and part of it. So if your organization or your business is going through that, you are okay. Actually, that means you are progressing. It's part of the. And one day, by the way, someone in the toilets wrote, "What is salary?" That was the strongest communication someone ever communicated. And I suspected that guy. But I went back and told these guys, by the way, whoever wrote that, can you just learn? Next time, instead of if you must write something, just write JamboPay. I just really wanted guys to brand, even if it's toilet. So it was tough. And if you've not gone through that as an entrepreneur, maybe you are so lucky. And you should pick some organizations and support so that they get out of. But getting out of that environment, it really takes yourself and being very clear on your vision. So it was never like, we are always optimistic. We looked forward to today. And even today, I'm looking forward to a day I will go to maybe 18 or 20 African countries, and I'm finding a JamboPay there.
Good evening. I'm Pius Wawero. Thank you, Danson, for a good platform you're sharing. My question goes, how would you advise those guys who are stuck in between employment and entrepreneurship, and they feel like they have the guts to jump into entrepreneurship? So how would you advise them, and what really motivated you to get into entrepreneurship rather than first getting employed for just like some time, then getting into entrepreneurship, like in the both feet, when you have the resources and the money, and like when you are sure that this thing will work? Thank you.
I think I answered that, but I would like to get back to that. Yes, if you feel like you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to start something, just get into it 100%. Kama unataka kuoga, you just unaoga timbali, unaguza maji hivi kidogo. You have to get into the karai, or you get into the shower and shower completely. You can't like do half-heartedly. So you got to jump. But it is tough, but possible. If I knew today, before I started, how tough that journey would be, I would have thought twice. But now at the moment you are in, if you are in the entrepreneurship ring, you can't get out that easily. It's complicated. You have to fight through. You just look back and imagine the ground you have covered and where you are going, and you can't give up. After you have gone through all those hits, all those tough times, you just imagine, now I must survive this. And so you keep going. That's one motivation. Then the other motivation is, you just imagine, you know boxing, a boxing ring. You know, if you try to run out of that ring, you can get hit somewhere badly. So you'd rather just fight so that because you can't, like, it's not easy to get out of a ring. Your competitor could, like, knock you behind here. And so you have to stay. So I think it's a hybrid of that. But I think it's possible. It takes, I see lots of entrepreneurs in the streets who are vending sweets. That person is an entrepreneur. The effort it took that lady to get from her house, some of them with the children, to come and vend. That's the guts that lots of you guys here who are still weighing don't have. Those guys, by the way, that lady is just equivalent. In terms of guts, brevity, and what have you, we are same level. It's just that we are in different businesses. It just takes that switch. I think the tough bit is the switch to jump and get onto the entrepreneurship, like spirit or sphere. But you should. If you are doing half-heartedly, a lot of people will, okay, I would not prescribe, I would not like recommend you take something I have not taken. Personally, I have been 100% in JamboPay from day one to date. Now I'm thinking of probably the next few years I will take a different path. But as of now, I'm there, 100%. And that was the case from day one.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Collins. I wanted to ask, especially when you started your business, how were you able to market it to a point that you're able to like know it's now time to move out of Kenya and like grow it into like to other parts of Africa? And also another question I wanted to ask was, what's the best form of marketing, especially for a new business that you've just started? The best way.
I think the best form of marketing is people to see you use your product and say it on social media. Social media is easy. You can post and tell guys and stuff like that. How you are able to I think our marketing, and I said earlier, we branded ourselves. We used to have some t-shirts. Even now we still brand ourselves a lot. Every of our clients would place powered by JamboPay somewhere. And we still do that a lot. So in our product, and there's a reason why Toyota, we'll always have Toyota. Like, it's the vehicle, you can see this looks like a Toyota, but they will still communicate it's a Toyota. I think it's part of that. And how we managed to, or where we got to a point we thought our plan, and even I'm telling you that I know by 2020, JamboPay is going to be a bank. I think the vision was clear that we want to grow Africa and we want to become this kind of a business and so forth. And so we communicated a lot. And if you state, for example, if you place an objective in your strategy, you have and you measure your performance and how you are faring versus in your strategy. You just have to walk and stretch. It has never been like easy. It's not been like, oh, we found you have a lot of money somewhere, and so we decide now we'll put some in Tanzania and stuff like that. In fact, now we are moving to Malawi. Now, Malawi is like new. We are newly there and we are sourcing for business. But it's really stretching because we have to walk our strategy. And of course, there are a lot of other factors around how you manage that so that you keep your business running well. So it was not a lot of factors internally as of factors that are defined in our plan, our strategic plan, and generally our strategic plan.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Handel Gakuru. So I have 3 questions. The first one is on the finance part of your business. I was a bit late. I'm not sure if you had answered this. What is the value of your company as per now? I would like to know the growth rate of your company for the last 3 years. The growth rate of your company. And I would also like to know the net income.
My friend.
The net income for the last 3 years.
It's like an investor.
Also, I would like to know what percentage of the net income comes from Kenya and how the rest is distributed over the rest of the countries. The next one is on the cryptocurrencies. So we know money as a store of value and a medium of exchange. So my question is, will the Bitcoin or other digital currencies phase out money in the near future so that money will be the medium of currency globally? Because in the first world countries, we have people through the blockchain technology mining the Bitcoins and converting the Bitcoins to dollars so they can be able to withdraw their money, and banks are allowing that in the first world countries. Then the other question was on your managerial skills. I would like to know how many employees you have and what are your managerial philosophies and how many departments you have in your company. I would also like to know the importance of sales skills as a CEO in operation of your companies. Thank you, and I applaud you for having a Pan-African company. It's an honor to be in the same room with you. Thank you.
I think this guy is like the VC, the investors. They ask same questions except the cryptocurrency. Occasionally they can ask you a question like that to confuse you. And so I would like to, of course, I'm here because I would like to share. And I would like as much as possible to share so that information I give, really I am hoping that out of this session someone will learn and will help someone in business. But a lot of this, and maybe I can go straight to your first question on the valuation of the company. I think that organization is worth about 3 to 4 billion now. I'm not able to say a lot of other things there, but I will probably report to you that over the last 4 years, we had a 300% growth every year, like 300, 300, 300. This last year, I think there was a bit of a reduction of that rate of growth. And the number of employees we have in Kenya is 70. About 65 are permanent in Kenya. Globally, we have around 105. That's across everywhere we are at. What was the last question you asked? There are very many questions there. A lot of questions. Oh, I think the sales. You asked about sales skills. I think as a CEO, businesses are supposed to sell because they're supposed to generate revenues, isn't it? It's not for anything else. I think the major factor, the major critical skill that you need is, I think you need to have sales skills. So I can sell. I sold a couple of times, many times. And so that's important. It's important than many other skills. And I think it depends on what phase of a business you are at. As the business grows and has more structures and many people, you really would look at people who are processes, who understand and appreciate processes, or people who are able, that skill, sales skill is important at a certain phase, especially the early stages. And let alone probably you may look at management and organization and how to strategy, implementation and stuff like that is major skills. So there are various phases of a business that require various skills, and sales is important maybe at an early stage. We have 6 departments. We have legal and compliance. We have sales. We call it business. We have agency. We roll out those agents as channels. We have finance. Our CFO is here. I know he left for another meeting somewhere. We have research and development. And we have HR, human resource and admin. I think for now, those ones are good enough. On cryptocurrency, I think we cannot underestimate that change happens, and there is a possibility that that could be currency for the future. But I think now the challenge for that is for it to apply, to be mainstreamed. It has to get and gain government acceptance. If the government is not using it, we can use it for a lot of other things we are using it for, digital stuff and stuff like that. But every new technology that comes has to go through refinement and stuff like that. So it's yes, there is a possibility that that can be, but as of now, we have to walk the ground that we stand on, and that is that we have currencies that we have the financial processes and systems regulated and controlled by the central banks. Yeah. Yes, how many are like 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I can take 6. Career? Okay, sorry.
Hi, good evening. So I'd like to know more about you as the CEO and the carry of the vision. Thank you for asking the question on managerial skills, but I'd also like to understand perhaps what kind of soft skills are necessary to lead such a large company, and even just looking into the future and the growth of JamboPay, how do you ensure that you're relevant and that you sort of stay ahead of the technology and that you carry the vision forward?
Thank you. I think the most important bit of it is, for me, as a CEO, you ought to really identify with your staff at a very low level. You need to connect and understand them and have ability to communicate quite clearly. So that's more of emotional intelligence that you need to understand to connect, identify with your various stakeholders. And you, as a CEO, I think it's important to be grounded, like you need to be on the ground. I occasionally will take a matatu, not out of like imposing myself onto that. You actually will, I think some of us have interacted with me. We basically are, like, you have to be human, you have to be real, you have to go to the village, you have to remember your past and walk where you've walked. Like, I'm constantly going back to my village and my colleagues' villages and stuff like that, so that you attend the social functions where you interact with real, like, challenges, and so that you remain relevant, because relevance is also relative. Like, you should be, we are keen on social issues that we can address through our technology, and we can only do so by being there. You cannot develop technologies up here and here. But back to the skills, I think the ability to appreciate the importance of replicating yourself as a CEO, or not a CEO, as an entrepreneur. I think that's major. Ability to create many entrepreneurs within your organization. You can imagine, I also, a few years ago, I used to just imagine scenarios where there are like 10 Dansons, and so I think a lot of these you have to just trust people, and ability to trust people and empower them and just trust them, let them make mistakes. Today I had our head in Uganda, we were having a conversation around some projects there, and I knew something he was just asking, and I just could not tell him my real opinion on that. I told him, we'll work with what you think. I know that is, it puts us in a position that we can make a mistake and there is a potential risk, but that's part of grooming that guy and getting him empowered. So ability to replicate yourself and trust people. And I think the other bit of it is willingness to die. A seed, like a maharagwe bean seed, has to die to germinate. To let go, to really put yourself in a position that you quite, not just uncomfortable, completely uncomfortable. The first time I learned about, or I tried to do the delegation, then I have my board chairman who kept telling me, you have to delegate and relax, delegate and relax. And it was tough. Then I was just imagining all the things that would go wrong. There were so many things that I was imagining would go wrong, and I had to trust people, and I had a supportive team, my HODs, those guys. They were just telling me, Danson, they forced me to take a leave. The first time, I think it was maybe 3-4 years ago, they got me away. And they told me, if you appear near our office, we are going to charge you. I think they were to get from my salary, lunch for everyone. Anytime they spot me, and they created a group. Even there was a time I went to a barber shop near there, and they just said, this guy was around. So you got to let go. And this, by end of next year, I plan to leave my position as CEO of JamboPay, because I believe you have to let go, and that business has gotten to a point we need someone else. It's not easy to just create it's like I'm imagining a mother giving birth to a child, and they get to a point they have to let go. That's a brand that was not there, and we created it, and it's all over, and letting go, that's, I think, major, and it's a skill. It's a component. And a lot of times you have to let go even people. You have to let go some attachments to some processes or some products that are not performing. And the other bit of it is the listening bit of it. Sometimes people will tell you things, and you're imagining you know it because you have been there for 8 years. But you have to just give it a thought and listen and just imagine they are right, so that you can reason with them. You have to put yourself in their shoes so that you look at what they are saying in a perspective that is different. So I think it takes a lot of those. But the biggest for me has been, even now, as I'm telling you this, you can judge the level of, I'm real. I'm telling you from nothing except his questions. If you have time, I would answer him. Its ability to communicate at a very low level with everyone. You have to appreciate people for who they are, not you just, by the way, I count myself like everyone else in that organization, even outside that organization, and the moment you're able to appreciate the person, humanity, the human aspect of that person is just like you in all aspects, then you make better decisions because you imagine what they could be going through. So I think it's a lot to do with that, but a lot of it is just being real, and just trusting your guts sometimes. You can tell when things are going wrong in your stomach. You know that if you are an entrepreneur? Something can tell you this can be wrong, it could go wrong, and so forth. I hope I answered bits of your questions.
Okay, hi. My question is, being that you didn't take any investment whatsoever,
how long did it take you to break even, and how did you handle the process before you broke even?
Yeah, that's it took us 4 years. 4 years. We are now 8 years, and we supported. I think I explained that we did a lot of other projects that were non-core, like training guys, doing some other softwares, just focusing on developing our product and our brand. And I think that's how it happened. But we also did borrow at, we have borrowed from banks. I know it's expensive, and a lot of guys will ask, you see, it's actually very expensive to borrow in Kenya. And unfortunately, like for some projects that I think our first project that required probably like 5 million. We're doing government project. We borrowed, and it was expensive repaying that. But if you look at it, we did over probably 1 year. And as a result, we have, I think, built a lot of relationships with those banks. But I think it was, it's actually been just keeping our costs really down. And that's our major strength to date. That we can run a very lean organization cost-wise, and we just focus on selling. And then very early in our business, we adopted the model of the moment we sell a product to one customer. We have developed, for example, now we have, for example, voucher system. We deploy it on one client. We create very good case studies. We package that product very well, and we tell the competitors to that guy that you need this or you are out of. And we just market and they'll take it. So, and by so doing, now you are not developing that product. Like we literally did a lot in media by just because media fear each other. And you develop for one and you communicate quite well that, yeah, we can give you this. And by the way, your competitor does use that product, they'll just do it. And so you don't have those development or deployment costs. You keep them matter. I think that model has really worked for us. Now we, all over Africa, trying to and deploying like what you are doing for Nairobi. Because it's there, it works, and you can send them to Nairobi and go and experience, and it will not cost us 70 million shillings to deploy in another city, because probably there are just some, it's probably going to be 10% of that. Yeah.
Hi, good evening. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I think one thing I've learned today is that a lot of the whole thing about failure is having a bias towards action, and having a bias towards action is actually preparing to fail. So I have a few questions, and they are surrounding or regarding self-awareness, you as an entrepreneur and through your entrepreneurial journey. So regarding innovation, it's a term people throw around. So what's your attitude towards innovation, and how and what role has that played in your business? Like, what does it really mean to you? How does innovation and creativity, how are they linked, and how have you managed to use that to grow your business? And then regarding emerging markets, entry and scaling, what is your advice to young entrepreneurs who want to start businesses in Ghana, in Ethiopia, and what kind of attitude do they need to have, or kind of research they need to do before moving into these markets? And then the last question is around product development and customer development. Because one thing I've realized with maybe most of my friends who've started businesses before, they build things that people don't want to buy, or just because you can make a jumping dog, you think everyone wants a jumping dog. So how can entrepreneurs build things or put themselves in a path where they can learn about their customers and build products that make sense to their customers? And then lastly, it's about social entrepreneurship. Personally, I'm a social entrepreneur, and I'm working around the refugee space. I would like to know from your experience in the market in electronic payments and finance, what opportunities do you think are there in terms of innovation that can help refugees handle their financial?
Thank you. I think last one is, for example, at JamboPay we have a voucher, electronic voucher system that would work very well in a refugee environment where you want to disburse maybe funds or meals or medical care to guys in refugee camps. And generally, even in aspects of where you want to support guys individually, you can create wallets and you provide a platform that guys can support directly from wherever in the world into the individual wallets. But the first question was around innovation. Innovation really is the ability to keep challenging yourself, not in thoughts, just actions. You just imagine what you are doing today and tell yourself that's not good enough, that's actually bad, just come up with a new, and not just products. Innovation has even processes in your business. It has to do with not just the external or the customer-facing aspects of it. It has a lot to do with actually it has a lot to do with the internal aspects of it, and how well you can create a framework to identify and support such internally, from identification of those projects or innovations to getting ownership, like the people who start those innovations to get to take up ownership of those innovations, all the way to rewards, appreciation and stuff like that. And I think if you look at what disruption is, it has to do with that and how that challenging yourself interfaces with the outside world, how that translates to the products or the services that you provide to the market. We have no formula for, I don't think there is a formula for innovation. It is just a culture that you have to really cultivate in an organization. And an organization is individual, so it has to be from individuals. It has to do with how well you have created an environment and how well that framework and environment is. I think how well you can tap into that, the framework that you create around that. I think the other question was around scaling. Was it? Please, emerging markets. What was it about emerging markets? Scaling in emerging markets.
So the question was like, for example, my friend from Canada, he's moving into Kenya, and what can we learn about like understanding the local?
Yeah. One day, I've been to Ethiopia 3 times. We are not doing business in Ethiopia, but I took a plane. I bought a ticket. We don't need a visa there, and I landed in Addis Ababa, and I just got a cab the following day. And I traveled around. They have very nice, they have churches, old churches. I think they are Orthodox, they look Orthodox. And they are just an environment like here, but there is something different. And you can only tell that difference between Kenya and that environment by being there. So I think a lot of it has to be, don't imagine by reading there are those things on Wikipedia about organizations and companies and countries. That's not good enough, and you cannot base a decision to get into a new market out of such statistics. You have to be on the ground. And so I went to Ethiopia, and I did lots of things. Amongst them, they have meat that sometimes is not cooked. It's just spiced, and I ate that without knowing. And but I really got to learn that I cannot do business. We could not then do business. We have not done business in Ethiopia because I interacted with the government there, and they told me that kind of a business you are doing or you propose to do here, it's not allowed. You cannot provide that kind of a service. It can only be done by the government or something like that. Now imagine if I had looked at the Wikipedia and have called a lawyer there, a law firm, and we agreed that we set up for us and we send some guys and you spend. So I think a lot of it has to go to, you have to walk, you have to get on the ground and feel it. And anytime I go to, that's the same script, go to Malawi, go to the slums, go to the high-end points, go to some schools, get into the hospitals, visit a home, like a real family somewhere, and have a dinner with that family, and you get to understand that the lives, because real good business is where you are doing it because you have put faces to names and places. You know, you can tell that you are going there to transform so and so, and you're imagining there's a bus driver. For example, I have an image of a bus driver in Addis Ababa. I know where he stays, and I know he has 5 kids, and I know like what he's paid, and where he spends his money, and a lot of that. So I think you have to get to that level that you understand. And what really matters for him when he's making a decision to, when he's deciding out of my salary, this is how I'm spending, all that. So I think, bottom line, you have to get to the ground, and you feel before you decide to do that. A lot of it also has to do with just sometimes you can get into an environment because there is a social cost that you believe in changing something. And one day I watched some clip on Facebook about some country, and I thought we can do something around vouchers. And I just wrote to an organization and I told them we would like to donate a platform like this. And we moved, and we are doing some things there, and soon we could move into that country. So I think it's to do with getting there.
Okay, hello. My name is John Como. My question is more around your developer ecosystem. I remember I interacted with your system some time back, but it was a bit closed up. So a customer came in, they wanted integration, they mentioned JamboPay, they mentioned PesaPal, but when I came to your ecosystem, to your portal, you required some sort of registration. So my question is, what informed that decision that in order for me to become, like to integrate into your system, I needed to provide some sort of documentation vis-a-vis what PesaPal did, where you just come in, register, and you have access to the API, and you develop, and once you want to move huge amounts of money is when you go and sign with them.
I think, and I appreciate that question. You see, from the onset, my first letter was to the regulator, and that explains a lot of difference between those two businesses. We are the largest government payment processor because we have certification from government. A lot of things around KYC, know your customer, the money laundering laws and regulation, anti-AMLs and stuff like that. We had to work. We submitted our part of what the central bank did was ask us to do presentation, and a lot of things they said, this you cannot do like X, you have to do like Y, and that explains a lot of, like, subsequently today we are largest government payment processor because we have some certification that is required of government and we comply. So it's a choice you decide as a business. Sometimes you can choose. There are a lot of businesses that choose to go the regulation way or against the regulation, and it works both ways. It depends on what segments that you. Over time now, the central bank, they understand we were given ability to integrate to IPRS, that is the Integrated Persons Registry. And again, for you to get, for example, to integrate to IPRS, a lot of those things had to be in place. So our KYC probably is faster because with your ID, I'm able to fetch government data and populate myself by link our data and say you are Congo and XYZ is what you are doing. So it's got to do with the regulator, a lot of that.
Okay. My name is Geoffrey. I have a question. So, how did you manage to stick to your vision of that you want payment service? I mean, money could have come through and you decided to change to something else, but you decided to stick to the vision of what you had initially planned to do. The other question is, at the stage you are right now, what do you fear most in life? Do you fear competition? Do you fear one day you might wake up and JamboPay is no more? What do you fear most?
Thank you.
Thank you.
In terms of what we fear most, today I'm always imagining startups, a new company, not anybody who is around. It's what we do not have today that will show up, and we are not ready for it. So, and that explains a lot, as to why we now have created an environment that a lot of, we are also incubating some guys. We support, today you want to start electronic payments, we'll come and we'll give you APIs and some level of support. Because you want to be part of that, we want to leverage on our strength to grow those entities and to also participate in what could come. So that's, I think the fear is what I don't know, what I have not seen that could be or that could come. And that's why we also want to partner a lot with the iHub. We already have some partnership with other hubs around, because we would like to be in the know. Your first part of the question was on? Sorry. Oh, sticking to our, yeah, and I really would recommend that you stick to your area. We got a lot of money initially from non-financial, non-payment processing sources, but we stuck to that. We just had to stick to our vision because we were sure then that this is what we are made for. We had seen the opportunity, and we, as a vision carrier, I had to stick to that. And that's a major strength we have also. We focused. And the moment we just managed to generate some revenues, I dropped a lot of other things that are not core to what we do. We have partnerships, for example, with Devent there. Because we don't want to do developments, we pass our developments to. We are building capacity around Devent because we would like to remain a payment processor. And other entities now, we are partnering that, looking at other areas that we are not. And along our, because like now we go to, like now we have a new exciting project with one of the exam bodies here. And those interfaces, we are not even interested in the development of those interfaces. So we pass that to an organization like Devent or any other organization. And so I think it's by choice, and because you also understand that our strength will come out of, or has come out of, that specialization. I know some friends of mine who we started, they were in insurance software. And then they did some websites, and they were paid good money, and they forgot about the insurance. Okay, they didn't forget, but they started looking for other websites to do. And today, they are like not, they really had a good product, but they are not market leaders because they did not specialize. So sometimes even lions in the jungle, they decide this is the antelope, we are interested, no matter what crosses in there, you have to stick to that and go for it. That's the entrepreneurial, I think it's, as an entrepreneur, you should specialize sometimes. Not, a lot of people want to argue that you need to diversify. I think you can diversify in specialization. For example, we have products for government. We are in health, payments. We are in retail payment processing. We are now doing insurance payment processing. And these are specific, they are products, but they are all in payments, just like Coke. Coca-Cola has Sprite, they are in beverages. They have Fanta, they have Tangawizi, Stony, and those others. But they are still in beverage. They have not tried to create some vehicles. They have not started manufacturing vehicles and stuff like that. So I think the specialization, you should diversify, but specialize in your area.
That's true. Okay, there's no more question. Okay. So, what is why?
Hi, sorry, I wanted to ask just, you had mentioned earlier your forecast for scaling up. Could you maybe speak a bit more, maybe as final words, on what your visions are for the future growth of JamboPay, particularly outside of Africa?
Well, I think because we are basically a payment processor. We are seeing what is happening in India, for example, Paytm. We know what WeChat is. And we know the limitations that any payment company has in getting into other markets is because payments are very local. They are not, you have to localize. Like if you want to be in payments, you have to be relevant. You have to make sense to someone in a country. And as a company, we have plans specifically to get outside. First, Africa, we have we have to get into 18 countries over the next 3 years. And we also would like to get into China. And for 2 reasons. I think there's an opportunity for the kind of a model we are doing here in China and India, because there are a lot of similarities in challenges, especially the social challenges and approach to solutions for those. And infrastructural, payment infrastructure, you'd call it divide, is very related, it's very similar. And I also think if you want to tackle competition, you have to learn your competitors quite well, and you have to engage them. If you wait for someone to come to your house to fight them, you are in trouble. If you go to where they are at, and you learn how they do it, and you can try to manage a bit of it, when they get here, you are ready for them. And so part of it is that, and because we know we can scale quite fast, we just need bank and a telco in any new country we get into. And we have experience. For us to get into a new country, 2 months are enough to deploy. The bulk of it is basically the regulations. And if you ride on a bank, that means you can knock off that quite fast. So the plans are we have to cover Africa, but 2020 we should be in India or China, or both. On a small scale, either through partnership with a local entity like a bank, or on our own. Yep.
Any final remarks before we end this?
I have a question for some 2 guys. And this is also, because it cannot be that you're just learning from me and I'm not learning from you. One is to one is to Chris. Chris is a colleague of mine. Is Chris there? Or he left?
We can start with Muriah, please.
Yeah, Muriah is here. I think Muriah would like to learn from our interaction now that we have invested a bit in Devent. What did you learn out of me for my sake and for these other guys' sake? What did you learn? What have you learned? Maybe 2 things you have learned about me as an entrepreneur in the course of our interaction.
Okay, my name is Muriah Kamau. I'm MD at Devent Limited. I met Danson, I think it was 2009, and I would have easily been employee number 1, but I had other ideas. So I set up a tech firm, and right now we build most of the customer-facing interfaces for JamboPay. So I think the greatest lesson I've learned from Danson is persistence. When I met him, it was a huge office like this with 2 desks, and we used to, of course, do our work till late hours so that the fares come down, as he has said. So persistence, because at that point you would see the vision, and I think I came late. I think he told you that it was first, it grew out of a vision of creating an e-commerce platform, but there wasn't any payment processor to do that. So that persistence, and then number 2 is innovation. JamboPay is very innovative. I think it tries to be at the bleeding edge of technology, in security, in the way they deploy their solutions. And I think in technology, innovation is the most important thing. If you're not innovative, you will be replaced by another firm in 1 or 2 years. So I guess those are the 2 most important lessons I've learned from him.
Thank you. I think from there, persistence is important. And Chris, I have a question for you. Sorry to surprise and ambush you like Mariah. What did you learn over the, I think you have been in our organization for how long?
1 year.
1 year. What have you learned from me, or about what one attribute of Danson, the entrepreneur, have you learned that you could share with these guys? Doesn't have to be good, even a weakness or a strength.
The bad part, eh?
Yeah, even
Good evening, everyone. I am Chris Kanyanga. I'm in support at JamboPay. Okay, I've been there for one year. This is my 1 year and 2 months. In the 1 year and 2 months, I would say I've learned a lot. I've done ticketing. I've recruited agents. I've gone for trainings.
Sorry, I would like, because of time, about like from Danson, sorry to cut you short,
okay.
the quality that you have seen, one or two, maybe two qualities that you have learned out of Danson, the entrepreneur.
Okay, Danson has, let me say, a heart for helping other people. I'll say this on a personal level. There was a day we were going for a meeting with him. He overheard me talking over the phone with my mom. My mom was in hospital. He didn't say anything about it. But 2 days later, he called me. I had actually taken a leave because I had to go and see my mom up country. He called me 2 days later and asked me, how is your mom? What is the status? I gave him the breakdown of what was happening. He actually bought my mom meds for that period. And I'm very grateful for that.
Thank you. I think you have to be, thank you for reminding me that actually. I hope she's okay. So you have to be humane, and you have to be real. It cannot be that you have had lunch and your colleague has not had lunch and you assume it's okay. But if you know how it feels to be hungry, if you have ever been without a meal, you will feel and understand. So I think for me has been real, and I will not pretend that what it's not. And I tell entrepreneurs, be real. And this world just takes us being real and kind to each other. Like I've forgotten, and he remembers, and I'm sure he's learned that, and he'll do the same for someone else. My school, the primary school I studied, I wish I had this. He has visited a number of times. That school was not in a good state. It was a colonial dairy. It's called Gekeno Primary School. And so I went back, and I took my colleagues, and if the guys said, oh, this school my colleagues at work, they said, we need to do something about it. That school is a good school, because we gone back and we have done classrooms, we are still supporting the school. So I'm just imagining there are so many ways. And by the way, we supported that school before you are profitable. So as an entrepreneur, do not wait until you are profitable to help someone. Just pick a course, the way you pay electricity bills, and your bills, other bills, even when you are not profit making, make a change somewhere. Be something different. And life will work out for you. And the world, actually, I believe the problems of this world can be sorted by entrepreneurs. Like that school did not take an NGO to support and get it up. It is a good school now. I'm proud when you guys visit. Some challenges here and there. And Chris, you know that school. It's a good school now. And they are happy because so if we all did that to the schools you studied, you'd not be crying, oh, government, oh, what. We just are the people who should cause a change. So let's be entrepreneurs with a difference. Let's touch someone's heart. Let's look into the eye of a young one and tell them you are brilliant, especially your kids, even other kids who just look up to you. Look them in the eye and tell them you are brilliant, and someday they will be better than Danson. Maybe that was said to me once. If you tell them 3 times, they will be 3 times loaded. Thank you, and have a good evening. Thank you.
I think he deserves a better clap than that. So we asked him to be here until 7. It's 8:30. He's given his time to come talk to us, and I think he's been very passionate. I've seen a number of times when he's given a talk, and I think this time he opened up completely to you guys. So you guys are very lucky. And I think I'll also say this about him. He's very real. By the way, he's very real. He's not, I think, engaging with a lot of entrepreneurs in this ecosystem, I would tell you this, he's one of the most humble people that I've ever met in this ecosystem for the longest time. And he really genuinely cares about seeing especially fellow Kenyan entrepreneurs succeeding. So for that also I applaud you.